Good morning, students. Say your prayer. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர், நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்தமரியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர், நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்தமரியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர், நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்தமரியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Okay, students, take your social science book and take page number 96. So we are discussing about the medieval age in India. Yeah. So in that lesson, already we discussed about polity, culture and economy. In economy, in last class we discussed about agriculture and non-agriculture production. Yeah. In today's class we will discuss about textiles and commerce and finally about urbanization in medieval India. Okay, so let us move into the lesson. So record what we discussed in our previous class. In our previous class we discussed about the culture, so literature, art and architecture. So the Chola period art and architecture and the Islamic culture, and finally about the Vijayanagar and Mughals art and architecture. Then in economy we discussed about agriculture. So India was predominantly an agriculture country. So the rulers of medieval India gave importance to irrigation. So the first important one was the biggest network of canals known in India was built in 14th century by Firoz Shah Tughlaq in Delhi area. Then we discussed about various irrigation project by the Chola rulers. So in Tamil region, so the Cholas had created a network of canals for irrigation. Then we discussed about the crops cultivated by the Indian peasants. So Indian peasants were more knowledgeable about many crops when compared to other peasants in the world of at that time. Then we discussed about the various crops, so the commercial crops and the horticulture crops, so cultivated by the Indians. Then we discussed about the non-agriculture production. So India is one of the largest manufacturing country, though the economy was primarily agriculture. So non-agriculture production refers to both processed agriculture products and craft production. So both processed agriculture product and also the craft production. So in economic terms, Indians were specialized in craft work. So our craft works so were exported to various countries and earn a good income to our country. So we have discussed about so various craftsmen and also the non-agriculture production in our previous class. So today's class we will discuss about textiles and commerce. So in economy we will discuss about textiles and commerce. Textiles. Nearly all the cloth that was produced of cotton, though silk weaving had developed in Bengal where silk was produced and in Gujarat. So nearly all the cloth that was produced was of cotton. So the cloth produced from India was made of cotton, though silk weaving had developed in Bengal. So silk weaving was developed in Bengal, but all the cloth so made by Indians, so made in India in medieval period was made of cotton. So silk weaving so had developed in Bengal where silk was produced and also in Gujarat. So silk weaving. So weaving means the way in which threads are arranged in a piece of cloth. So that is, so weaving the thread, the activity of making cloth. So weaving means so nothing but the activity of making cloth. So nearly all the cloth that was produced was made of cotton, though silk weaving had developed in Bengal and also in Gujarat. So each region of India produced a range of highly specialized local varieties of cotton cloth ranging from the coarse to the superfine. So each region of India produced a variety of highly specialized cotton cloth, so ranging from the coarse to the superfine. So coarse means so very thick cloth to the superfine, so very thin cloth. So each region of India produced a range of highly specialized local varieties of cotton cloth, so which ranges from coarse to superfine, that is ranges from so very thick cloth to very fine. So very transparent cloth. But all were intended for an external market. So all the varieties were produced only for export, so only for external market. So textiles, nearly all the cloth that was produced was of cotton, though silk weaving had developed in Bengal and also in Gujarat. So in Bengal, so silk was produced. But so all the cloth produced was made of cotton. So each region of India produced a range of highly specialized local varieties of cotton cloth. So ranges from very thick cloth to very fine and transparent cloth. So but all of them, all the cloth, so produced for external market only. So dyed and printed or patterned cloth involved the use of vegetable dyes. So dyed and printed cloth. So the cloth, so they manufactured, they produced were dyed and printed with the help of vegetable dyes. So India is famous for textiles during that time. So now also so some of the states are famous for cloth, so textile. So say for example, if I tell the name Kanchipuram, so what you remember? Silk. Like Kashmir, it is also famous for Kashmir silk. And also Banaras. So Banaras is also famous for silk. So if you take India, so almost many places, so in their local area is famous for textile. Okay, India had two natural advantages in cotton weaving. India had two natural advantages in cotton weaving. The first was that cotton grew in almost all part of India, so that the basic raw material was easily available. So India had two natural advantages in cotton weaving. So weaving, the process of making cloth by using cotton. So India has two natural advantages in cotton weaving. First, cotton, so was the basic raw material, grew in almost all parts of the country. Second, the technology of producing a permanent color on cotton using vegetable dye was known from very early times in India. So first, cotton, the basic raw material, was grown in almost all parts of the country. Second, the technology of producing a permanent color. So cotton, it is white in color. So how we get various colored cloth? Because we use several dyes. So nowadays we use artificial dyes. But in medieval period, so the technology of using the vegetable dye, so to produce a permanent color on cotton was known by the Indians from early time itself. So the India had two natural advantages in cotton weaving. First was that cotton grew in almost all part of the country, so that the basic raw material was easily available. Second, the technology of producing a permanent color on cotton using vegetable dyes was known from very early times in India. So cotton does not absorb dyes without a preparatory process using reagents, which was not known in the rest of the world. So other parts of the countries, so other countries in the world does not know about the dyes, so which gave color to the cotton. So indigo was the most important dye crop that was grown in India, but other dye crops like the che root for red color were also grown in India. So cotton does not absorb dyes without a preparatory process using the modern, so which was not known in the rest of the world. So other countries does not know about the dyes. So just they know about cotton. So they don't know how the cloth get color. So how the white colored cotton was given color, so by the Indians. So the other country people does not know about how the cotton absorbs dyes. So because cotton absorbs dyes only after using some moderns, after using some agents. So indigo was the most important dye crop that was grown in India, but other dye crops also grown in India. Okay, dye woods and resins like lac were imported. Dye woods and resins. So resins, a sticky substance that is produced by some trees and is used in making varnish, medicine, etc. So resin means a sticky substance that is produced by some trees. So dye woods and resins like lac were imported. In addition, a range of colors were produced by using flowers, fruits, and products like turmeric in various combinations. So dye woods and resins like lac were imported. In addition, a range of colors were produced by using flowers and fruits and products like turmeric in various combination. So in order to get colorful cloth, yes, in order to get various colors. So our people, so the people of medieval India had used variety of flowers and fruits and sometimes products like turmeric, so in various combination, so in order to give so color to the cloth, in order to give color to the thread. Okay, so in India, so nearly all the cloth that was produced was of cotton, though silk weaving had developed in Bengal and in Gujarat. Yeah. So each region had produced a range of highly specialized local varieties of cotton. Yeah. So dyed and printed cloth involved the use of vegetable dyes. So India had two natural advantages in cotton weaving. First, cotton was grown in almost all part of the country, so that the basic raw material was easily available. Second, the technology of producing a permanent color on cotton using vegetable dye was known from very early times in India. So cotton does not absorb dye without a preparatory process using mordants, which was not known in the rest of the world. So cotton does not absorb the color dyes. So dyes which gave color was not absorbed by cotton without a preparatory process using mordants, using some agents. That was not known in the rest of the world. Indica was the most important dye crop that was grown in India. But other dye crops like the che root for red color, so for red color they use the che root, so che plant root. It was also grown in India. So medieval Indians imported dye woods and resins like lac. So resins, it is a sticky substance. So in addition, a range of colors were produced. So apart from indigo plant and the che root, so Indians, so the medieval people of India produce a range of colors by using flowers and fruits and products like turmeric in various combinations. Next, commerce. So the large manufacturing sector essentially produced goods for exchange and not for self-use. So the large manufacturing, the large industrial or the large manufacturing sector produce goods only for exchange and not for self-use. So therefore, India had an extensive network of trade for marketing these goods. India had an extensive, so good network of trade for marketing the goods. So the village was the basic geographical unit of production and was essentially a subsistence economy. So subsistence means the state of having enough money or food to stay alive. So the village was the basic geographical unit of production and it was essentially a subsistence economy, and barter was the medium of exchange. So barter means exchanging good for goods. So nowadays we want to buy good means we have to give money. But in barter system, if you give a good means you will get another good with equal price, with equal value. So that is the barter system. So the large manufacturing sector essentially produced goods for exchange and not for self-use. So therefore India had an extensive, so very good network of trade for marketing these goods. So extensive means so covering a large area. So India had a large area of network of trade for marketing those goods so produced by the manufacturing sector. So the village was the basic geographical unit of production and it was essentially a subsistence economy. So that means it's a village. So they produce goods for their own needs only. And here the barter system was practiced. So the barter was the medium of exchange. Big cities were usually major commercial centers with bazaars and shops. So big cities were usually major commercial centers with bazaars and shops. So bazaars, it is also a shop. So group of shops. So they were also intermediate ports, so intermediate points. So they were also intermediate points in inter-regional trade since they were connected by a network of roads to other centers in other parts of the country. So big cities were usually commercial centers with bazaars and shops. So sometimes these big cities act as an intermediate point. So intermediate point in inter-regional trade since they were connected by a network of road to other centers in other parts of the country. So sometimes so big cities, so they act as an intermediate point connecting various trade centers. In addition to such overland trade, smaller ships and boats were used in coastal trade along both the western and eastern coast of the country. So in addition to such inland trade, smaller ships and boats were used in coastal trade along both the eastern and western coasts of the country. Finally, the major ports such as Surat, Masulipatinam, and Calicut were the nodal points in the international and maritime trade. So finally, the major port such as Surat, then Masulipatinam, and Calicut. So they became the nodal point. They became an important trade center. They became an important port in international and maritime trade in medieval India. So commerce, so large manufacturing sector essentially produced goods for exchange and not for self-use. So India had a very good network of trade for marketing these goods. So big cities were usually major commercial centers with bazaars and shops, and they act as an intermediate point in interregional trade since they are connected by a network of roads to other centers in other parts of the country. So big cities sometimes, so they act as the intermediate points. So in addition to such inland trade, so ships and boats were used in coastal trade along the western and eastern coasts of the country. Finally, the major ports, so like Surat, Masulipatinam, so they became the nodal points in the international and maritime trade. So maritime trade across the Indian Ocean, extending from China in the east to Africa in the west, had flourished for many centuries. So maritime trade, so the trade in sea, so trade in ocean across the Indian Ocean, extending from China, so in the east, extending from eastern countries in the east to Africa in the west, had flourished for many centuries. Thus ports like Malacca, Calicut, etc. were entry ports, that is intermediate ports in the regional segmented trade. So if you see the location of India, it is just located in economically very important place. So if you see in the map, so if you see in the Asia map, India's position was geographically very important, because from Africa, if you are moving towards east of Asia, means you have to cross India. So you have to cross India. So the geographical position so gave an important position. So geographical location so gave India a very important position in trade. So the ports like Malacca, Calicut were intermediate points in the regionally segmented trade. In the 17th century, Surat in Gujarat, Masulipatinam in the Golconda Kingdom, Chittagong in Bengal, Pulicat, that is Palaverkadu, and Nagapattinam on the Coromandel coast, and Calicut in Kerala were all major ports in Asiatic trade. So maritime trade across the Indian Ocean, extending from China in the east to Africa in the west, had developed for many centuries, had flourished for many centuries. The ports like Malacca, Calicut, etc. were entry ports or intermediate points in the regionally segmented trade. In the 17th century, Surat in Gujarat, Masulipatinam in the Golconda Kingdom, Chittagong in Bengal, Pulicat, that is Palaverkadu, and Nagapattinam on the Coromandel coast, and Calicut in Kerala were all the major ports in Asiatic trade. So what was exported and imported by India so during the medieval age? So we have trade centers and trade ports. So what was exported? So what are the things exported by India? So India was also a major exporter of textiles, pepper, precious and semi-precious gems, especially diamond, which were then found only in India, and iron and steel, which were greatly in demand in the entire Asian region. So India was a major exporter of textiles, pepper, precious and semi-precious gems, especially diamond. So diamond was found only in India during that time. And also iron and steel, which were greatly in demand in the entire Asia region. So textile accounted for nearly 90% of the total export from India. So India export so textile so account for nearly 90%. So the major import from China and the east were silk, Chinese ceramics, gold, spices, aromatic wood. So aromatic means so gave a pleasant smell. So aromatic woods and camphor. So the major import from China, that is from east and from China, were silk, Chinese ceramics, gold, spices, aromatic woods and camphor. So from the west, so silk, drugs, dye woods and sugar were the main imports from Persia, while gold, ivory and slaves were brought in from East Africa. So gold, ivory and slaves were brought from East Africa. So India was a major exporter of textile, pepper, precious and semi-precious gems, especially in diamond, which were then found only in India, and iron and steel, so which have a great demand in entire Asia region. Then textiles accounted for nearly 90% of the total export from India. So then India import silk, Chinese ceramics, gold, spices, aromatic woods and camphor from east and also from China. So silks, drugs, dyewoods and sugar were the main imports from Persia, while gold, ivory and slaves were brought from East Africa. Next, urbanization. So we have discussed about economy. So in economy, we discussed about agriculture, then non-agricultural production, textile and commerce. So India in the medieval period is famous for its textile. So the textile industry was very famous. So nearly we export our export in the field of export. So 90% of export is by the textile industry only. Then urbanization. So travelers coming to India in the medieval period noted that there were a number of urban centers of various sizes, from cities to small market towns throughout India, though the country was primarily rural. So travelers coming to India in the medieval period noted that there were a number of urban centers of various size, from cities to smaller market towns throughout India, though the country was primarily rural. The urban population was probably quite small as a proportion of the total, but it had an economic and cultural significance which was much greater than its actual size. So the urban population was probably quite when compared to the whole population. So the urban region so was very small, but it had an economic and cultural significance which was much greater than its actual size. So what are the factors that facilitate the urbanization? It has been observed that the cities and towns fulfilled diverse and overlapping roles in the economy. So it has been observed that the cities and towns fulfilled the diverse. So very different from each other and of various kind. So India cities had fulfilled diverse. So had a variety of ranges and overlapping roles in the economy. The large cities were centers of manufacturing and marketing, banking and financial services. So the large cities were centers of manufacturing sector and also used for marketing and had provided with banking and financial services. They were usually located at the intersection of an extensive network of roads. So these cities, so the large cities were usually located at the intersection of an extensive, so very large area of network of roads. Okay, so the travelers coming to India in the medieval period noted that there was a number of urban centers of various size, from cities to small towns throughout India, though the country was primarily depends on agriculture, so primarily rural one. The urban population, that is the city population, was probably quite small when compared to the proportion of the total population, but the urban population, the town, so the urban cities had an economic and cultural significance which was much greater than its actual size. So what are the factors which supported urbanization? It has been observed that cities and towns fulfilled the diverse variety of ranges and overlapping roles in the economy and an important role in the economy. The large cities were centers of manufacturing and marketing and provided with banking and financial services. They were usually, so these cities were usually located at the intersection, that is in the intermediate point of an extensive network of roads. Then in South India, especially in the Tamil region, urbanization went hand in hand with the temples. In South India, especially in the Tamil region, urbanization went hand in hand with the temples. If you take in North India, urbanization went based on the economy, based on the trade activities. But in South India, so the urbanization went hand in hand with the temples. So temples were large economic enterprises requiring a variety of goods and services to function. So temples, so already we discussed it in the Chola period. So temple, so apart from giving the prosperity, apart from having the prosperity, it acts as a trade center. So it acts as an economic center. So temples were large economic enterprises requiring a variety of goods and services to function. They needed and employed a large number of people to man the religious services, the kitchens and for other work. So the temples. So the temple needed and employed a large number of people. So why the temples need a large number of people? So for religious services and for kitchen and also for other works. So devotees coming to worship at the temple needed many services and goods, so that temple towns also becoming the market centers. So devotees, so coming from various part of the country to worship at the temple, so they need many services and goods. So if you are going to temple means, so what will you do? So after worshiping God, you want to go for shopping now. So based on it, so many temple towns became the marketing centers. Okay, so events happening in Europe during this period. So what happened in Europe? So in India, so what happened during the medieval period, we have discussed it. So we discussed about the political situation. So that is the Chola Empire, then the Mughals, then the Islamic rule, and also the Vijayanagara Empire. So what was the situation in India during that time? So we discussed about the various dynasties, so various kingdoms that ruled India during the medieval period, and the culture and impact on polity, and also about the urbanization process in this lesson. Then what happened in Europe during that time? So in the beginning of the 9th century AD, a new institution called Holy Roman Empire came into existence in continental Europe. So in the beginning of the 9th century, a new institution called the Holy Roman Empire came into existence in continental Europe. This had nothing to do with the old Roman Empire, which had stopped to exist after 476 AD. So the newly established Roman Empire, Holy Roman Empire, had nothing to do with the old Roman Empire. The newly established Holy Roman Empire represented Christianity and Christendom. So Christendom means all the Christian people and countries of the world. So the newly established Holy Roman Empire represented Christianity. So the newly established Roman Empire represent Christianity as its official religion, and hence it was designated as holy. The emperor was supposed to be the representative of God on earth like the Pope. So the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire was supposed to be represented as the representative of God. So the emperor was supposed to be the representative of God on earth like that of Pope. The emperor dealt with the political matters, while the Pope, so the religious head of the Christians, dealt with the spiritual, that is with the religious matters. So the emperor dealt with the political matters, while the Pope dealt with the religious matters. The emperor was superior to everybody in the world except the Pope. So the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire was superior to everybody in the world except the Pope. So Charles Magn, so the king of France, was the first Holy Roman emperor to assume the title. So the Charles Magn, the king of France, was the first Holy Roman emperor to assume the title in the year 800 AD. So Charles Magn was a contemporary of Pallava king Nandivarman II and Pratihara ruler Nagabhatta I. So Charles Magn was a contemporary. So contemporary means so living in the same period. So Charles Magn was a contemporary of our great Pallava king Nandivarman II and Pratihara ruler Nagabhatta I. Then in England, so King John and the great Magna Carta. So the nobles in England forced King John to sign a Charter of Liberty in 1215 AD. So the nobles in England forced the King John to sign a Charter of Liberty. So charter means a written statement describing the rights that a particular group of people should have. So charter means a written statement describing the rights that a particular group of people should have. So the nobles in England forced King John to sign a Charter of Liberty in 1215 AD. It is called as Magna Carta or the Great Charter. So this Charter of Liberty was called as Magna Carta or Great Charter. This charter contained a promise that the king would respect certain liberties. So liberties means freedom. So this charter contained a promise that the king would respect certain liberties of the nobles and the people of England. So the theory of the supremacy of the ruler which prevailed in the Holy Roman Empire was not accepted in England. So the theory of the supremacy of the ruler. So that is, so the king was considered the representative of God on earth. So that theory was not prevailed in England. So that theory was not accepted in England. So King John of England was a contemporary of Sultan Iltutmish in India. So King John of England was a contemporary of Delhi Sultan Iltutmish in India. So thus in England we find that the king's power was checked yearly. So King John II was forced to sign the Magna Carta. So the Magna Carta gave some liberties to the nobles and also the people of England. So that means in the year 1215 AD itself, so the people of England can force their king to give them some freedom. So this kind of activity was not possible in India. So during that time, as India was ruled by the Islam ruler, so the Delhi Sultan Iltutmish. So that is the great Magna Carta. So nowadays also, if the people of any country get or got some special right, means then that rights so was collectively called or prized as Magna Carta. Okay, so last conclusion. Thus, the medieval period, covering more than 700 years of Indian history, was a time when momentous change took place in the political landscape, which also transformed social and economic fabric of the country. So the medieval period, so covering more than 700 years of Indian history, was a time when momentous changes, so when important changes took place in the political landscape, which also transformed the social and economic fabric. So fabric means basic structure of the society or an organization, so that enables it to function successfully. So the medieval period, covering more than 700 years of Indian history, was a time when momentous changes took place in the political landscape, which also transformed the social and economic structure of the country. Okay, students. So today we have completed the unit. So 7th unit. So medieval state and society in medieval India. That is from the Cholas to the Mughals. So if you have any doubt in this lesson, so please contact me. So take your book, textbook reading. So take page number 97. Read that heading commerce. So read that 4 paragraphs. Then homework. Take page number 100. 5th roll matter, 4th question. What were the factors which facilitated urbanization? So answer in page number 97. Urbanization. So 2nd paragraph from 2nd line onwards. It has been observed that cities and towns fulfilled diverse and overlapping roles in the economy. The large cities were centers of manufacturing and marketing, banking and financial services. They were usually located at the intersection of an extensive network of roads. So this is the answer for 4th question. Then 5th question. So strike out that question. So no need to write that question. So because sericulture, they didn't mention about sericulture in your book. So just strike out that question. Okay, students, write it in your homework note and read it well. So 4th question, write it and read it well. So if you have any doubt, so please call me. So thank you, students. Have a nice day.